Welcome to class, all you pickleball champs. You are in 451 Advanced Singles Game Film Analysis. Today we are going to be analyzing the PPA Finals match between Ben Johns and newcomer Aanik Lohani. If this is your first time here, this course is designed for advanced players who want to get better and understand the game of pickleball at a much deeper level. If you are looking to improve your game, start playing tournaments, thinking of becoming a coach yourself, or simply want to stop losing and not understand why, this course is for you. This course is in-depth. It's game film analysis where we slow things down, pick professional play apart, and understand the mistakes which are holding people back from winning. Therefore, if this is what you have been looking for to take your enjoyment of pickleball to the next level, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our future videos. I'm your professor. Class is in session. Okay, for those of you who don't recognize one of the players on this court, I'm going to back it up. But as of right now, Ben Johns here, lower left in the white with the white hat, and I'll get him back on the course, kind of in the light blue shorts, white shirt, no hat. That is, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Lohani. Okay, let's go all the way back. The first point kind of got cut off here, so I'm going to skip right on past that. I believe Lohani served first on this one because no score, and then Ben Johns is now serving. So we're just going to move on over to this one. Okay, let's back this up and take a look at it. That was a point for Ben. So, once again, conservative serve, middle of the box, early in the game. I like the fact that, at least I'll put this, from Lohani's perspective, he's hitting to the D zone. And Ben Johns does that classic, he loves to do that slightly run around, but really takes it in the body. Top spin, drop shot to the far side. And right there's kind of where this point breaks down. As you can see here, when Lohani moves to the right, he doesn't go back far enough. He does it right at the end and really gets jammed right in there. He's trying to stay up on that kitchen line, but that just is too soft and a middle ball on Ben. But the one thing I do like that he did here, so when Lohani basically dinks this ball back and it goes to the middle, right here he's moving his feet back to the middle. Now that's the best that you can do, right? So you are in front of the ball right here. As you can see, I mean, Ben can go either direction with this ball, but at least Lohani is in the middle in the same zone. So even though he's in a bad spot, that's as good a spot as you can be in off of that kind of mistake shot. Ben just says, hey, I'm just going to keep it on the backhand, and I'm just going to keep working my way up. And Lohani does not do a good job on that kind of cross-court backhand dink. So first one to Ben. Let's move on to the next point. There was actually quite a bit of good that occurred in that first point. For those of you who don't know, I'm just going to tell you guys during this, Lohani was ranked number 23, literally one of the bottom ranked, and got on a hot streak and has made it all the way here to the finals in this PPA match. So pretty exciting for him. So here he goes back to Ben. He's trying to get around it onto the backhand, and Ben runs around it. So even though Lohani returns short and technically in the C zone, we'll put them up for you guys on the next ones. If you don't know what the A, B, C, and D zones are on the court, I'll get those up on the screen. And that ball just carries high enough for him to just basically put it back towards the corner. So it's a good two-handed volley right there by Lohani. And obviously, if he's been doing that, that explains why he's been able to get all the way here to the finals. So nice point. This is kind of the risk you take when you do these runarounds that if you don't hit it good, you've put yourself in too poor of a position and you're going to get murdered on that shot. That really shows you how often Ben Johnson's hitting an unbelievably perfect drop when he is doing the runaround. Okay, back over to Lohani. And so just to show you guys now that we have a fresh, I'm just going to draw it out here. So these are the zones, but I'm going to label them up so that you guys can see this. I'm just going to continue these lines up. The lines really aren't about the kitchen, but I put them up here. So it's always from the serve returner's perspective. So actually I changed my mind. I'm going to do it down this. So it's where is Ben going to be returning this ball? And what you have here from his perspective is A, B, C, and D. It's kind of these 4 channels. So let's play this one all the way through. Okay, good point. Let's back this on up. And I may erase them, but as you can see, the ball hits right in between the A and the B. And where is Ben? Ben falls straight up and he's in the B. So when you hit a ball, your body is designed to go also to one of these channels. And as you can see there, by Ben coming up to B, he hit it between A and B and he stays in B. That is perfect court position. So easy for him to take this volley. If the ball had gone, now we're going to do this in blue. So basically, Ben Johns right now is guarding everything here where he can pretty much volley this or bounce, return it back aggressively. And then anything that makes it all the way over here, if he cross court dropped it, that ball's going to be moving pretty slow and Ben can easily go over and get it. So that's the big reason why we do this kind of court position and where you want to go. And Ben is one of the best at understanding where to go, knows the angles. And here's another thing. He volleys to the right, so what does Ben do? He knows he needs to move over. So the ball lands in C, he moves into C, and he's ready to be able to either guard the line or come back and get the ball if he was able to drop it into A. If this ball had even made it over the net or skipped off the net, it probably would have gone out because of the amount of power Lohani hit that. And so that's the thing is, in singles, you're really controlling what your opponent does by where you're putting your body and always following the ball on a small court. So good point there. Let's move it on back over to Ben. And so what I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to clean those up. Let's move over to his serve. And here's his serve coming. Okay, so just real quick here. So once again, these lines continue all the way down. As we get deeper into this video, I'm not going to draw them all the way out. I will just leave it at the top. So this is from Lohani's perspective. So that's his A, that's his B, that's his C, and that's his D. So hopefully it helps you guys understand when you're playing that it's from your perspective. So this is where things start getting dangerous. When you're not hitting the ball and getting it all the way to D, as you can see, Ben is very easily able to just do a slight run around, be very well prepared for this ball, and take it with his forehand. And pretty much, I guarantee Ben's not going to drop every one of these because this right here is a huge gap that he could just drive it up the line and make Lohani pay. But I'm assuming Ben is one of the best at saying, hey, I want to get into the cat and mouse game. I want to work my way up to the kitchen because he feels if he gets up there, he's got a very good chance. So just following it on through. Oh, good point. I'm going to back this one up. I want us to watch it in, I don't think we watched it yet in full speed. So Lohani is a very good two-handed backhand, much better than most people on getting a nice little pop on it, generating some spin, getting depth there. So I like how he's getting that ball. And then full blow attack, sacrifices everything, goes for the winner right there. Very good. So the one thing I think Ben is probably noticing in these first couple points is this is not where you want to be. I know that Lohani made it to the finals, but you do not want to return a serve and be standing in the middle of the court. There's just too much that you can, too much passing room here, and that is probably going to come into effect later on. Right now, it worked out for him. Let's see how. Let's move on to the next point. I like to try and fast forward for you guys so you don't have to sit through all the waiting between serves. Ooh. Like I said, Lohani has a very impressive volley two-handed backhand. It's very compact, generates spin, and he uses his legs very well on it. Okay, let's see here. Ben, unfortunately, returns further into his C box than he would like, and it's curving towards the middle. That's, most of the time, as you can see, this is what's going to occur for you, is that's the green light for them to drive the ball. He drives it on Ben. Ben doesn't get a solid hit on it, so now it's pop-up. Now drive number 2 is coming. Ben does a better job getting that one down, cuts him again, and then misses it on that. So let's see where the mistake was here. It's pretty obvious. On this cut, Ben kind of gets back. As you can see, he kind of holds because he sees the paddle face. So I agree with his decision to stop his foot right here because this paddle face is literally aiming completely over this way. So at this point, Ben is no longer caring where the ball is. He's reading Lohani's paddle and sees him. He's going to come right back at him. Here's where this mistake is made. When Ben drives the ball this far over, he doesn't come far enough. So what he really needed to do was get his left foot to follow that hit and get it over here and then get his other foot even wider so that he could be ready for this shot coming across. And the reason we know that is because he basically hit a great shot and jams his opponent. So his opponent really has no option but to go to the right. And so that's the one area where he hit this great, but Ben is a little late on moving to the right. So then it's a big dive for it and just makes bad contact. For anybody, even Ben Johns, see now his head is moving. Once your head is moving, much harder to make good contact on the ball and to see it. And the ball kind of gets a little behind him. Okay, let's move on to the next one. There we go. That's the more classic Ben returning directly in front of himself. Ooh, another miss. That's 2 volley misses for Ben Johns. Okay, so this is exactly how you want to be playing in singles, whether it's women's singles or men's singles. You want to return it deep, directly in front, and this was his A box. So that's when I'm referencing A. Ben returns it to the A, and watch, he's going to follow up, and he's kind of going to be, because he hit it so far to the left on that, as he's actually going to be on the line. If this line between A and B continued through the court, you can see that his left foot is going to be on that line. He's now further away from the middle line, and that is totally based off of where he placed the ball. Some people hit the ball and they don't care where they're hitting it, and they run to the middle, and that is completely wrong in pickleball singles. Okay, so he goes up the line. Ben easily there, returns it nice and deep, Puts some spin on the next one. And then just misses it. It looks like Lohani really put a lot of spin on that. And that's where it kind of comes off and dives down. So a lot of top spin coming off of Lohani's forehand there. And when that impacts a paddle, if your wrist is not strong, which it looks like Ben, because he's reaching, when I say a strong wrist, I'm going to clean this up so you can see this. Right here, you can see that this angle is about there. And what Ben normally likes to do is he likes to have it much more of like an L. And so as you can see, weaker wrist, the ball is going to come off softer and allows that ball to dive into the net, unfortunately. So anyways, a couple uncharacteristic misses by Ben. It's definitely, this is the Las Vegas tournament in 2023 that we're looking at. And there have been some unusual matches that have occurred. Let's back this up for Ben and Colin and his brother. Okay, just a quick kind of miss there. The only thing I want you to take a notice of is, once again, Ben returns directly in front of him, gets it into that D zone for himself, making your opponent move, getting your opponent to have to take just that one additional step, getting into the ball to hit it. Look how tight that gets into his body. He's not really loaded on the correct leg there, and that's one of the reasons why Lohani misses. And so you'll see, as we talked about, Lohani's returning kind of into the middle. He's returned to his C a lot of times, trying to get to Ben's backhand on the return of serve. Much better to just go directly in front of you. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so right off the bat, Lohani once again serves short, return into the C zone, and Ben's going to run around that again. And for Lohani, because he's doing that, look where he has to run. He's now running into the middle and then having to cut all the way back. And then that's totally out. And that's just too easy. When you're making it that easy on your opponent, it's going to be a very quick point, and sometimes then, therefore, a quick match. Okay. Just trying to see on this. Okay, I just want to draw this out for you guys. So this is from Lohani's perspective. Once again, as we've had these all the way down, and you guys know that from his perspective, this is A, B, C, D. I'm not going to draw them all the way out. But basically what I always like to do is I like to do this big X. This big X is where not to hit it on the serve return. And then what we do is we take a little yellow here, and we draw this triangle. And this is your Bermuda Triangle. Absolutely not. If you want to sink your ship fast, this is where you return it. So I'm not saying that Lohani actually hit that. Let's back this up. He makes it just outside of the Bermuda Triangle, but not by a lot. And that's what we're talking about, is when you're trying to go cross court, you better hit that ball. You better get it all the way over to D, and you better get it deep if you're going to do that. And depending upon your opponent's serve, it's normally not a very high probability shot. And that's why going directly in front of you, one, you're actually able to get it there more often. Two, the biggest, most important thing that I harp on is you're then running straight up here. This distance is much, much shorter than running this distance. So one, you're going to get up to the kitchen earlier and get set. And you're also able to see the ball come directly back at you, unlike in this point where it comes across his body, and then he's reaching out there and not able to do anything except barely get the ball back over. You're completely on the defensive and then just lunging at it. Okay, let's move on to the next point. This has been a rather good game so far. There we go. Lohani goes up the line. That's really the major first mistake that we've seen from Lohani. So we're going to slow this down, and we're really going to need you guys to be able to see this, because this is what we talked about that Ben did so well previously. So once again, this is the D. It's a pretty bad D. This is the C. I'll change the color so you guys can see it easier. Maybe I can even do a little bit better, but we got, anytime I'm doing them upside down, it gets a little hairy-carry, but that's a C, that's a D. Now watch after Lohani hits this ball where he should. This is great. Nice forehand, driving ball straight into the D zone. He's so used to running towards the middle. Do you see how he runs away from the ball? He hits this ball. Ball is going beautifully this way. And he takes his body, and he's going towards the middle. And that's what really separates out the top players, is that is not where you should be running. You got to follow the ball. So when Ben Johns hit the ball, and he hit it this far into his D zone, his foot came up and landed right here on this dot. If you're actually a little shorter, have a little shorter arms, you would want your foot on just the opposite side of that line, and then have some space between you and the middle line. You want to be right in between on that gap that I'm drawing there. I'm just going to erase those. And so that's where Ben John sees him run away. Lohani's foot is actually on the opposite side of the middle line, even though he hit the ball down the D quadrant. So Ben John just drives it right back up the line, and there's a huge gap on Lohani's forehand. That's not a ball that you should ever have somebody drive past you, and that's just incorrect court position after you've driven the ball into the D zone. If you guys learn this, you're going to see how much easier singles gets for you. Okay, quick, easy point for Ben right there, and that's the thing that you want. You want to just pick up those easy points. Okay, let's watch this one all the way through. That is the first cross-court ball that I would say that Lohani has gotten deep and all the way to D. And there's the example. Like, if you get it all the way over there, there is a benefit. Phenomenal point. I think this point may have been the one that made ESPN. So great. Lohani's pumped up. Let's back that up. That deserves a replay anyway. I just want to see that this ball actually hit. Yep, it catches that line. Beautiful. Okay, let's back this one all the way up. Obviously, there's going to be not every hit here are we going to get into detail, but let's start with this first one. Okay, very cautious down the middle to the forehand of Lohani, which gets him all the way into the D quadrant zone. So this is the one thing that I like to point out for people. That ball isn't actually that deep, right? It's right here. It's kind of in the middle. But because it's so far on the D, that ball is driving Ben off the court. Ben has to take it back in. So as we drew out earlier where we said, where do we not want to hit the ball? I'm just redrawing that real quick. This is the area we don't want to hit the ball, correct? So this, I kind of like to, this is kind of your yellow zone. You know, if you had a green light, red light, so there's your red light. The big X is your red. The yellow is kind of your yellow zone. And on this, unfortunately, because of our system, we have to use blue for green. So this is your green zone. If it's not a very big zone, that's the whole issue, where on this side, much easier to get it back over there. But Lohani obviously prefers to go all the way over. It puts his position when he comes up. Look at this. So this time he's literally further over than the last time when we hit a D quadrant. His foot's slightly further closer to this line this time, and he actually ran directly at it. So I don't have too much of a problem with that. And like we talked about, if your opponent from this position, like we're going to get right where Ben Johns is impacting this ball, literally off the court. If he's coming this direction, Ben Johns can hit a power drive here. This is kind of his zone, right, to hit it. So This is why I always like to point out, where should you be standing? Well, if this is the lines that Ben can hit it, this is actually the middle. If we want to cover it and defend correctly, he's defending too far over. Lohani's too far to his left, our screen right. Anything past, if Ben Johns hits a drive onto this side of the yellow line, it's going to carry long. So anything over here, we know is going to be a drop. And therefore, very easy for you to just take a couple steps over and get that, because the ball's not traveling that fast. And that's exactly what happens here. Ben Johns drops the ball. Beautiful drop in there. And all Lohani can't even get much pace on this, just kind of high to the back. Ben easily moves over to it, drops it again. Lohani's making a move around. Ben is just staying on point. He's like, I'm just going to keep hitting this ball right to your backhand until I get up here. And now we're in the cat and mouse game. So here we go. Both players being very good with their feet here. And that's just off the net. This is one of the best plays where Ben Johns, he's not going to try and hit this hard. He just takes it to the back, makes the person move their feet, and gets himself space. But here's the one thing I want you to notice. Ben hits it into the middle D, kind of right on the line between the A and the B. Sorry that I said D. Right down the A of his. And then he doesn't, even though he moves over, very quickly sees his foot's here. It's not actually, he's not going to the middle. He's just getting over into the B quadrant zone. And that's what allows him to not have balls get past him on the backhand side. And then this is where it kind of breaks down. So this slice volley is just too soft. It allows Lohani to come up with pressure. And then Ben does, once again, he's had it multiple times in this match. This wrist is getting too out. It's getting too much open. And what open means, once again, is that the angle here is like, let's say that's 270 degrees, where, and I'm just making that up, I don't know exactly how many angles, what degree this is, but you want that wrist to be much, much closer to a 90. And if he had it at 90, it would impact harder, drive the ball hard off the paddle going this way, and it will come off very low. And so that's just where his wrist is at. And so that ball pops up, and Lohani makes an amazing grab. But the entire difference here is see, even with the wrist not strong enough for Ben Johns, it still is going hard right? The difference is it's just high. And so if it was a stronger wrist, it would go that same speed and pace. It'll just come across lower. So anyways, fantastic point to watch. Great athleticism by Lohani. Shows you how many good balls you need to hit to beat or get a point off Ben Johns. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, let's watch this one all the way through. Okay, let's back this up. Okay, first, right off the bat, Ben Johns is just not going to do something dumb. He returns straight ahead of him. So he's in pace, and he's at the kitchen, and he's nice and there, feet down. So watch, Ben Johns is very far back. I talk with a lot of students about how far off the baseline you should be. A lot of times in the camera, you can't even see Ben Johns because he's so far back. In this image, we can at least see where Ben is. I would say that he's at least 9 feet off the baseline, and he's even that far off with the ball hitting in the first 1/3 of the box. And so what that does is it removes any decision that Ben has to make. His body is moving full forward to get to this ball. He's taken 1, maybe 2 steps, hits it in stride. The big difference is he's not going to split step here. He just takes it in stride, letting his momentum carry him up. A lot of times with students, when they go, hey, I want to get better at serve returns, this is exactly what we work on. Is we literally say, hey, get 6 to 9 feet back on the box, and then you remove any decision. The only thing that you're doing that you know you're doing is you are going forward, and we work on them actually hitting the ball in stride. This is not always as common for people to literally, you're not trying to hit the ball hard, you're not trying to crush it, you're not trying to put a ton of topspin on it. You're just trying to hit the ball in stride, put it back where you want, and then get to the kitchen line and get there before the ball bounces. Ben's a little late on getting there before the ball bounces, which shows that he hit it with a little bit more pace, which you do in singles. And then he's ready for the next one. So Lohani goes line on him. And I will say, I think Ben probably went a little too far to the left from where this ball lands. So he probably would have preferred if he had hit the ball about 2 to 3 feet this way, and then he wouldn't have had to come over as far. I still think Ben gets his foot on the opposite side of this line. What Ben is basically doing, and so some people, the A, B, C, D boxes aren't as clear for them. They can't remember that when they're playing. Once again, it's just about what you can think about. Try always lining your body up, your right shoulder directly in front of wherever the ball is. Okay, in baseball, they talk about if you're right-handed, you get the ball, you always want to take a grounder off your left ear, which is a great concept. But what you want to do, so if Ben had stopped here, right about there, and done his split step and kept his right shoulder, this isn't exactly perfect, but I'm going frame by frame, and our camera's not exactly straight. But if we had basically done this, he would have been in a better position to guard the line and deal with any slow balls coming over here. And so he did go a little too far to the middle on this and then have to come back. So then that's a very weak volley back, which allows Lohani to drive the ball. And Ben in this one, in all honesty, gets lucky that his opponent missed that ball. And sometimes you just got to get that one more shot over and put the pressure on your opponent. Okay, let's watch this point all the way through. Ben's turn to serve. Shows you the quality of Ben's drops when you can see it from this camera angle. Great point. Good patience by Lohani. Obviously has very quality tennis style stroke overheads. Okay, here we go. So short and between his C and D zone really puts the onus on Ben to drive that ball down the line. And as you can see, Lohani likes to kind of do what we like to call kind of the Deion Sanders. Show them that it's open, but know exactly where it's going so you can pre-jump. So he's basically sold out to this ball in advance, assuming it's going to go there because of the return of serve. If Ben had basically gone back, I think, to the backhand, he may have literally just caught him off guard because he's so anticipating everything here. You see the split step, he's already pre-leaving to get that. And this is a great moving volley, almost an actual swing. He's trying to put this ball away from Lohani, and Ben just does a great job flicking that ball back to an impressive drop shot with almost no time. And then another beautiful drop shot here where Lohani is really not getting the pace on it. What I would like to see from this one, as you can see, he steps off. This is beautiful. And I would just like to see a little bit more pace on these ones to put a little bit more pressure on Ben. But I'm sure he's also early in this match not wanting to hit out balls, and trying to keep the next one in. So the one thing you can see here is what Ben does better than most in singles is he waits for his opponent to invite him up. He doesn't charge the net because he knows exactly what's going to happen if he does that, is he's going to get beat either side. So he'll sit here and Ben will hit drop shot after drop shot after drop shot, unlike in doubles where you hit it, you assume it's good, and you take ground. And this is one of the hardest things in singles to do, is to hit a drop shot and wait. Just sit right here and wait for your opponent to get ready to react again, and then hit another drop shot and wait until your opponent can't keep the pressure of pushing you back. Most other players on the PPA at this level, they will hit the drop shot and charge trying to get to the kitchen line. So that's, I think, a big thing to take away from this point, is just seeing Ben John's patience. Now, he doesn't win the point, so you could say, well, maybe you could have tried something different. But this is really a testament to Lohani keeping the pressure on and keeping Ben back over and over and over again as he's hitting quality drops on him. And the only way that you're able to do that, I'm going to back this up. I'm going to show you this one more real quick, because we see that I talk about it when it's bad so often. This is great. Beautiful drop shot. And Lohani is back. Look how much load he's getting on his left leg here. His right foot is literally up off the ground. That means all of his body weight is now on his back leg, allowing him to drive the ball, and he's off the kitchen line. Look how he drives through this ball. Now, Ben gets it back again, but this is the thing. He is loading and preparing. He's not bending at the waist. What you see, what a lot of people do in this situation is from here, they start bending their chest down to take the ball out of the air, and that's what gets soft balls back, is instead of, I'm going to back this up one more time, like right here, what Lohani's doing is he moves his feet and he goes back. See that back, that left foot, how that left foot goes back? Just perfect and beautiful. That is just so textbook how you should do it, instead of right here, what you see a lot of people on this ball, they would go straight across. Unlike Lohani, Lohani is going across and back at a cross angle to the ball, which is keeping his chest from not leaning forward. I got a lot of arrows here. You probably can't even see that. Let's get that out of there. Once your chest, shoulders, you bend at the waist going down, your body knows that you would have to literally straighten back up to do anything before being able to go back, and that's why you chase that ball down and take this. So you see people hit this ball all the time, this drop, and you'll see people like just reach out here with their paddle and catch it right before it bounces in the no volley zone. That's not what you want to do in singles. You want to get that left foot back, and there, hit a nice easy drive ball. There's no pressure on Lohani in that situation because he moved his feet correctly and prepared. And when you go to the correct position and prepare, that's what really makes the game a lot easier. A lot to learn from this match between these two. Impressive that Lohani came in ranked number 23 in this. I think we're going to see a lot more of him in singles with this kind of quality footwork. Okay, let's back this one up and take a look at it. Lohani trying to put some points on the board. Okay. Serves Ben out wide. I like that. When you get your opponent to at least get to the outer line, as you can see, Ben is having to come charging in. Now, the one thing that Ben does, and where you'll see other people lose this point, Ben hit the ball here. Once again, pretty safe spot, but once again, always directly in front of him to cut off angle, just like a soccer goalie. If Ben had hit the ball here off of that ball, much bigger space, would have been much easier for Lohani to drive it past him. So Ben prevents this ball getting past him in his return, not in him going here and jumping over. Like, that's quality. He's doing this good too. But the real reason why he's able to get there is because he's decreased the distance he has to run and improved his angle by where he returned the ball here in singles. Okay, nice backhand volley there. And then just puts the ball away. So Ben literally goes from defense almost immediately to offense because of how he returned the ball. And instead of going to the middle, to the the zone we don't want to hit, or trying to go all the way across, Ben plays it to the correct place, aiming for D, missed D by just a little bit, but played it on the safe side so he didn't hit it out because it was a good serve, and then gets to the same zone and then is ready to split step and go to his left for this ball. Other great part of this is when Ben came across here, he doesn't, where a lot of other people do. They get this ball and they come back across here. And what does that do? That makes them, all of Ben's body weight is going this direction. Okay? And in singles, what you want to do is you want to keep the ball in front of you. So when your body weight is going to the left and drawing you into your AB box, put the ball back out in front of you, and then you don't have to move as much, because if he had hit it back across his body, he would have had to get all the way back over one additional zone. So he hits the ball directly down in front of him. All he has to do is turn. He's in the perfect position already. And as you can see, his foot is on the inside of the middle line where he wants to be, because the ball is in the A quadrant. And so when this ball comes across, super easy forehand. And he just puts it right down there, and Lohani can't run the entire court to get it. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Okay, back over to Ben serving. And that's textbook Ben Johns. We're going to look first, when we back this up, I'm not going to go too far. I want us to see this. So it's kind of outstretched, but right there, as you can tell, this angle of his wrist, much more to 90 degrees than it has been. Okay, and that is what, I'm just going to go a couple frames forward. As you can see how that ball stays lower than the previous balls, and it's just redirecting that energy. That's what you're doing. Who put the energy into this ball? Well, you can very clearly see that Lohani puts the power into the ball, and then Ben, with a strong wrist, just redirects it into the very open court, and Lohani can't adjust to that. Okay, let's back this all the way up, because I think we had a couple other good learning opportunities here. So Lohani doesn't go in front of him, goes down essentially the middle, and if we drew our box, that ball is pretty much guaranteed. I'll just do it just so we have it. Let's see if that ball, it's not the world's greatest right there. Definitely not perfect, but I mean, this ball is real close to our Bermuda Triangle right here of where not to return the serve. Let's back it up a couple frames. Nope, that is exactly where it hit. So it just clears it again. Obviously an easy ball for Ben to come around with his forehand, not giving up very much of the court. And unfortunately for Lohani, he's once again running to the middle, doesn't even get to the kitchen line. Look how far off he is from the kitchen line when he's having to now readjust and go in a different direction. And one of the reasons why he didn't get there is because running from here to here is longer than running from here to here, because you're running on the angle of the pyriga. I can never say it correctly. but of the right triangle. Here we go. I think I distracted myself by that tongue twister. So what did we talk about just on the previous point was when Ben had a similar shot, he took the ball and went directly in front of himself. He doesn't care if it's the forehand or backhand. You shouldn't either. And you'll see that here in just a second for Ben Johns. But Lohani, instead of putting it in front of himself so that he is in the good court position, controlling where he goes across to Ben. Let's go a couple more things. Now watch, it comes over to Ben. And this is where the true cat and mouse and the benefit comes. Ben goes in front of himself. He goes, no. I want to be on top. Look how he's now like a crouching tiger as he approaches. He gets low. He's anticipating. He's looking for the speed up and pop up. That's all he's waiting for. He's just tracking that ball with his eyes. And so unlike Lohani, who hits it across and has to go, oh man, I better move. I don't know which way. I'm kind of pausing here. Which way am I going? Okay, I'm going this way. Ben doesn't have to do any of that. He just puts it directly in front of himself and closes in on the ball. And as we talked about again, he gets right on this line, the line with his left foot between the A and the B zone quadrants, so that if it comes down the line, he's got the backhand and he's covering a big part of the court. Just perfect. And so this is the reason why we do these film analysis, because once you learn, okay, hey, where should I hit this ball in these scenarios, and you can see it slowed down, you can really see, oh man, there is open court space there, but more importantly, hey, I don't got to hit it there that hard. Ben didn't hit that ball that hard, but he set up the next chess move of then having his body in the correct position so that he could put it away. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Beautiful point. Let's wind this one back. Take another look at it. Okay, definitely more aggressive serve. Quite a bit more power by Ben. Gets it back into the box. And once again, Ben gets what he wants. Another short middle ball. That is what you want in singles, is a short middle ball that he can go either direction with this. And he obviously decides he's got all the room to the right. And he doesn't even power this ball. He just drops it up there so that he can move up. And then he goes back again with that controlled wrist move that he does. Comes completely around it. Makes it very hard to know where he's going to go with it. Yep, and then the point is over. Okay. So the thing that what I want us to see is, if you're going to start playing singles and doing these style of drops, the first thing you're going to learn is how much actual space is over there when you drop the ball. The biggest thing is you just want to have a slightly more of a drip spin on it in comparison to like a high doubles drop ball. And then as you can see this, he hits this shot away from his opponent, and Ben's momentum is already closing in on the ball so that he puts the physical pressure of his body into not allowing Lohani to hit the ball anywhere that he wants to on the court. And then since Ben on the previous one had gone directly in front of him, he goes back across. And basically from this point, the point is over. Lohani lobs it up, and then he can't get the second smash. Here we go. Ben has now been able to get a couple points on the board. Here we go. And so this is what happens for a lot of people. Like, you almost want to be noticing where you're returning the ball and call a timeout. It doesn't matter where you're at in the game, but if you are returning the ball soft middle, Maybe you just need a breather. Maybe you need a drink of water, whatever. But this is the third ball just outside of the Bermuda Triangle zone, as we talk about, of where not to return it in singles. And he's just letting Ben do kind of whatever he wants at this point. Okay, let's watch this one all the way through. I assumed it wasn't going to take very long to watch it all the way through. Okay, I want to look at, so one of the other major issues on why you don't want to return the ball here is, where is Lohani? He is in the dead middle of the court, right? He's right here when Ben is about to impact this ball. So let's now go up to impact. Ben is impacting here. We'll even give that frame. So Lohani made it. He split stepped. Just look how big a zone he has to try and cover against Ben. And as we've talked about, if that's Ben's power, is able to go corner to corner right here, Lohani, even in this scenario, should be here, not where he is at. And that's where you're completely on the defensive. You're having to cover too much of the court, and your opponent's able to take power to too much space. So Lohani having great body control and a good reach, and Ben not hitting that aggressively of a ball because he doesn't want to miss. He just wants to make Lohani not be able to hit a strong return volley. He gets the exact shake and bake kind of setup that he wants off that, and then just puts it away with the backhand. And so all of that comes from 1A, where you're returning the ball, and it's not even, it is short, that is the problem, but it's more about the middle of where you do not have a good spot to go to of where you're going to be on this ball and being able to take away court space of your opponent able to drive it. That's the big thing I want you to learn from that. And obviously we've gotten to see this occur 3 times in a row. Hopefully you guys are queuing up on this. Here's another great thing. Lohani's basically touching the back wall. He's trying to get as far back as he can so that he can have as much momentum going forward in the court. I really like that. That's one thing that you should be utilizing, the exact same thing in singles or in doubles. When you're returning a ball, you'll want to have one decision. Your decision is you are going forward after you hit this ball. Okay, we just watched that one all the way through. Let's back it up and analyze it. Okay, another middle ball into the C. It's technically, from his perspective, it's the DC quadrant. Unfortunately, he pulls it significantly in. I'll just draw the line here. That's about it. So, yep, and the computer straightened out that line for me. It's always appreciated when it does that, but significantly into the C, almost the middle of the C box. Ben just drops it. These, I think Lohani is at his best from what I've been able to watch in this match when he's taking these two-handed spin backhand volleys. It's normally working out for him. Just want to see this in full speed. Yeah, Ben chooses to drive the second one at him, testing that backhand. And the reason Ben did that is, watch this. This is a very common mistake, so do not think that I'm just talking about Lohani here. This I see with Ignatowicz. I see it with Tyson McGuffin. We see it with a lot of Christian Alshon. Like, we see this with a lot of players. Okay, this is where the ball bounced. The ball is in the A. Okay. Once again, I'm just going to right there. Okay. And watch, I'm going to mark in blue where they're at right here. This is when the ball bounced. Okay. I like Lohani's court position at the point of this ball bouncing. Watch where he goes. He moved all the way over, out away from the ball. His body is literally taking him away from the ball, and so Ben just goes straight back up the line. The most likely shot of this shot for power is up, back up the line. number two, if you watch enough Ben Johns, you know he wants to hit the ball directly in front of his body so that if he does get something he likes, Ben wants to go straight up at it. He doesn't want to hit cross court, allowing for an easy, let me get to red, an easy redirect off the paddle that sends the ball this way. And that then all of a sudden he's running, he's killing himself, those kind of things. So number one, just knowing what the logic of the game is, your opponent wants to come this way. And so one, you shouldn't give them a bigger box open from when they wanted the ball. And now once again, we are at the point of impact. If Ben Johns drives this ball, which he did, that is his power line all the way to that corner. That mouse just went crazy there. Let's try this again. That's his power line. It's a little wide. I swear I will get this eventually. There we go. Okay, that's his power lines, right? And anything on this side in this triangle is going to have to be softer, or it's going to go out of bounds on the other side. And so that's the big thing, is where I will admit right now, Lohani moved left and he's kind of close to that middle side of it, but where he should have just kept his right shoulder is on that line. Like, here's the line all the way down, and a moment ago his right shoulder was on it, and then he goes away, and then he has to come back, and that's where he's still moving. Watch how much his head moves on this ball. When your head's moving, it's harder to hit the volley. You want to be as still as possible, like a catcher in baseball. You want to have your head as still as possible when making that impact. You're going to make much cleaner impact much more often. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, beautiful point. Unbelievable patience by both players. But the most important thing, quickly, just to take away from that, is Ben waiting to be invited up. Okay. So, Lohani, I think we're up to 5 in a row of short ball in the middle in the C zone. So, if Lohani normally likes to get the ball cross court over to, as we talked about, this box, the D deep box, and he was trying to hit it in here, somewhere in this area. When pressure is on and things aren't going well, the issue is the area where you then miss that ball is on that plane but short, and then everything starts to go badly. And so I know I sound like a broken record just because he's done so. Lohani needs to return the ball directly in front of him and follow the ball up here, and he would be winning some of these points. He's making this much, much harder for himself. So once again, Ben has just literally got this game on repeat. You're going to hit the ball there. I'm going to hit a runaround forehand drop, and then the only difference here is how good are the quality of my initial drop. So Ben waits to the move up, and now he's just saying, okay, I'm going to keep hitting drops until I get one that I get the invite up. Ben switches to a little bit of a drive, and then goes back immediately. He fires one bullet, and then immediately goes back to, okay, that's what I wanted. I wanted a softer ball with my feet set, and Lohani doesn't move as best he could. I think Lohani felt the pressure of, I've been driven way off the court here, and assumed that Ben was coming up and that he had to keep this ball low. Ben wasn't coming up, but obviously Lohani's head is down. He's watching this ball. He doesn't know where Ben is, and therefore tries to hit too aggressive of a shot to try and keep him back there, and it doesn't work out. But this is exactly how, if you're doing men's singles or women's singles, how you should have patience if you're going to play the game and you're going to drop. When you do your drop, you have to wait to get invited up off of their response to it. And that's exactly what Ben does on all these. He doesn't hit one of these shots and charge. He just comes back, gets set again, so that when the ball is hit, he only has to make a decision of running towards the ball. He's not having to rechange his direction. See how he's set, then he goes to the ball. And then he hits this, and he sets, and then he goes to where the ball went. And that's what allows him to hit shot after shot after shot in and quality, because he's not having to change the direction he's going and then go after the ball. He's literally still and then goes after the ball. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This game is getting a little bit away from Lohani. Ben Johns has that ability on people. That ball was definitely out. Okay, so good things happen when Lohani changes stuff. Right here, as we say, okay, he hit the ball in front of him, and he's at least now running slightly more forward. He still runs to that middle, and then split steps wide across the middle line. I'm not a big fan of that, as we've talked about in previous ones. Not saying that Ben didn't hit the ball to his backhand. He did. But as you can see how easy he was able to get over there, if the ball is going to go that wide, you can easily deal with that. You want to follow the ball more. He hit the ball, once again, basically on the line of his DC zone, and then he ran to the middle. I would have liked to have seen him come here, shoulder on the line, and instead, as you guys will see as I take this forward, he goes there, and that's what's caused him a lot of issues when Ben hasn't hit it soft and to his backhand. So good hit there. Ben once again patient, and this time it just sails a little long. Okay, Lohani's turn to serve. Ooh, Ben missed that one. Okay, back this on up. Okay, good serve, middle of the box. Ben coming forward strong. Ben goes directly in front of him, like we talked about. At this point of impact, from here, this is the angle, and that's the angle. Okay, of where Lohani can power this ball. Obviously, if you were playing, you would be reading his body position. He's driving this. And so one thing that Ben does here, he is going a little too far this way. As you can see from the angle, Ben's left foot should be here. His other foot should be about here. And that line right up to Ben's shoulder is where his right shoulder, because he's right-handed, is where he'd want that ball to be. And let's move forward on this. Ball comes back. Unfortunately, Ben goes too far to his left with his left foot, which then makes him have to move his head additionally when impacting that ball, and then that ball sails long. And so that's the thing, is it's like we are talking about, maybe a foot and a half of too far to the left for Ben. Well, that extra foot and a half of head movement is really what decreases solid contact and body position. And so once again, also if Ben had, instead of going that far to his left, he would have been further this direction instead of running the long distance towards the left, and therefore he would have been there earlier and more set, more calm, more ready for it, and probably would have made better contact with that ball. Okay, moving on. Ben decides to change it up there. Gets lucky on that one. Let's look at the good. Let's look at the bad. Here we go. Okay, Ben is served directly, return of serve directly in front of him every point this match except this one. And he decides to go cross court to the backhand, which makes him have to run further and be more in the middle. So he's very exposed right now. And the one thing that he does here better than almost everybody else on the tour is when he takes that ball. Man, he must have just been outside that kitchen line because his paddle impacts the ground. It's a good thing he was outside that kitchen line at impact. But he impacts and drives the ball directly in front of himself. So this is where this point works out, and works out more oftentimes in his favor, is he's standing here. If Ben's going to not be able to hit a good volley, he will normally hit a bad volley soft and at least in front of his body so that he is the biggest goalie in front of where you're wanting to hit the ball. The bigger you can make yourself in your opponent's vision and where they're trying to hit it, the better. And so this is how this works out for him. Is he is very Ben Johns is very big here. He's a good goalie. He's in the correct position for this ball. Lohani closes in on this and tries hitting the drive shot, and Ben just once again gets this. It's not perfect, but as you can see, this is where he is getting it. And if you're not getting your wrist, if you're doing one-handed backhand volleys or one-handed backhand drives, this is, or one-handed backhand dinking, and you're not getting your wrist to this reverse 90 degrees, you are having a tough time, and you probably don't even know why you're having a tough time. And that is the reason, is that shot, this reverse wrist where you're getting it extended basically as far back as you can pull the wrist on the backhand side, is not a shot that is common to tennis or racquetball. It's exclusively, to my knowledge, maybe paddle tennis it's used, but pretty much exclusively utilized here in pickleball. And it's something that if you are not a two-handed backhand person, it's something you want to incorporate into your game. You're going to immediately start seeing the benefits and the results from that. And that's where Ben Johns, once again, he did this about 4 points ago, takes the power from Lohani, and he's just redirecting it. And the redirection angle, because of the kitchen line, is so strong, it's very hard for Lohani to turn his body that quickly in the opposite direction. And as you'll see, Lohani even crosses his right foot over, if he didn't have a kitchen fault there, extremely close, and can't get the ball back in. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, beautiful point. I just want to back it up just since we were just talking about it. Watch this one-handed backhand dink. Right here, he's going to start turning it. Oh, I think it was at a different point. Sorry, I went too far back. Here we go. See how his hand, the wrist, is at a different angle than if you record yourself. He's got it this way, and that's where you can see that allows the ball to go hard right and into that box. He's not swinging it. He's really cupping it in the reverse because it's a backhand, not a forehand, and he's cupping that ball and controlling where it goes. Okay, let's back this one all the way up. Beautiful point. Okay, right off the bat, one of the few times Lohani has gotten the ball to his D column, and then he's already knows where Ben's going to go. He's going to go to his backhand, so he's just making his way over there, which is fine. And then he does a speed up, goes down the line with it, tests Ben Johns. I actually like this where Lohani lets go with his left hand and puts more spin on it. I like that shot from him. Ben comes back. Nice shot. Yeah. That's really, out of all the shots that occur in this match, this is one of the biggest things, and this is one of the reasons why Ben Johns wins points. Ben comes in here, and off of this body position, everything, because of his control of his wrist, you can see how Lohani is moving the other direction and has to come all the way back. So now he's a little bit late. Still gets there plenty of time, but he obviously he came back to this backside from where he was wanting to go cover more ground, and then he decides to try and cross it back over. In my opinion, if Lohani could have slowed down, which it's unbelievably hard when you're going at this kind of full pace, even though it's Ben Johns' forehand, if he'd come back down the line, that would have kept the ball more in front of his body, and then he could have just moved up to here and kept playing and continued the cat and mouse game, which at this point, he was kind of in control of it. Ben was definitely on the run all over the place. They both were, but just the feel of this, from when we went from here, and that shot puts Ben so far on the defensive. As you can see, he just flicks it back over, kind of over the net. Didn't get quite around the pole. This shot, Ben is hard running on the defensive, chooses to drive. Very rarely does he choose to drive that ball. Fantastic point. Just shows the athleticism by both athletes when you can sit and hit this many good shots and be like, that's the correct shot, that's the correct shot. I can't wait to see more of Lohani and more finals against Ben Johns. I think it's going to get better and better. Perfect shots here. Perfect decision making by Lohani there. Good, strong backhand volley. Yeah, the real breakdown is just this decision, because when you drive the ball, like we've talked about, where's your options to drive at this point? You can go down here. Obviously, that's the baseline. That's anything past that's out. And you can go hard to the other. I know we can't see it, but it's basically right there. Once you get over to the other side of this line, this ball has to come softer. And I'm just going to leave those lines there. As we hit it, it crosses over to the other side of the line, and therefore it carries out because he didn't drop it. And so I don't think he wanted to try. I think he wanted to try and keep it away. And so if he'd gone in front of him, most likely it would have worked out better and could have kept Ben Johns on the defensive. Okay. Moving on. Oh, good point. Okay, Lohani's kind of back to his usual, returning it into the middle. He at least gets it deeper this time, so Ben has to kind of take a step back here. Ben chooses, because he's on his heels, chooses to drive wide. Much more aggressive drive this time. Really lays Lohani out. And then classic Ben going for that forehand drop into the corner. Sets him up. I don't actually hate the positioning on Lohani here, on where he gets back. I'm not 100% sure that ball was going to go in. I think that ball was going to carry out. I think the most difficult thing with Ben Johns is you just assume he's hitting it in, right? You assume that ball's really high, really tight. I think that ball was going out, and I think Lohani gave him one by hitting an out ball. And he probably knows it right after he hit it. But this cross keeps the ball in front of his body, gets his body back to being big and in the right position, and then just went, I think, for an out ball. Okay, let's move on to the next one. First game point or match point. No, game. That's definitely not the match. And there's the final one. Okay, guys, we're going to be jumping into the next game. Because of the length of some of these matches, we are going to break this up into its own episode. So I want to thank you guys right now for watching. And let's just see this serve in slow motion before we go here. Ben goes hard for the first game, takes it all the way to the back line, and catches Lohani on that one. None of his serves have been that aggressive for this entire game. And Lohani had already started moving forward and then kind of caught it on the rise. So anyways, great game. Lots. I hope you guys learned a lot from this first one. We're going to move on in the next episode to the second game between these two gentlemen. Catch you guys next time.